So we are going to do one more mythical creature, and then that'll probably be it. We might do one more video about terminal stuff later, but for now we're going to do, I think let's see. This is not where I expect to be. So this is my root directory. When I made a new tab, it default opened to my root directory instead of the current directory that I was in, which was workspace, temp, Ruby, exercises, mythical creatures. It's a lot of typing just to get back to where you were every time you open up a new tab. Yeah, see, new tab, and it put me back in my root directory. So let's fix that. If you do command comma, it opens up the current settings, and here in terminal you can set the new windows open with same working directory and new tabs open with same working directory. And default profile, same profile, this doesn't make a difference. So that'll help. I don't love terminal by itself, and the bare terminal isn't that great, but we'll talk about that later. So this is where we're at. Let's open up Atom to that. I'm going to try to move kind of quick through this video. We're going to talk about a lot of interesting stuff. So let's do Dragon. We'll do Dragon. Testa has a name. Testa eats a lot. Yep. Okay, so let's run this. Ruby test DragonTest. This again, RVM use 2.5.0. Now we'll run the test. Okay, cannot load a file. This is what we expected. Line 4. So we can make another one. We can do atom lib dragon.rb. So this makes the file and opens it up in Atom, which is how I usually do this. I'm gonna split that. Wait, where'd my unicorn test go? Okay, I'm gonna save that. I'm gonna open up I'm sorry, not unicorn, dragon again, and then split it to the right. Make that go away. Close that. So now we're ready to do our testing. So if we run this again, we would expect it to complain about no class dragon, initialized constant. Cool. So let's make the dragon class dragon and wrong number of arguments. So we'll do def initialize. Looks like name is coming in first, and by the way, I have a package called autosave on, so if I make a change, this blue dot means that this package hasn't been saved, or that this file hasn't been saved. But then when I click away from it, it automatically saves. If you don't have autosave turned on, please turn it on, because you'll make a change. You'll be like, why isn't it, like, I made the change, why isn't the test passing? And it'll be because you didn't save the file. So, wrong number of arguments, given 3, expected 1. This is interesting. I'm going to just grab my charger. Okay, given 3, expected 1. So we expect, by the way, if this should not be your second mythical creature, it's going to be a little bit more complex than like the first or second, so this shouldn't be the first one. So let's say, well, we're going to take 3 arguments, so we know we need name, I guess this is color, and rider looks like to be the argument. So this is the dragon name, dragon rider is going to be Lessa, and dragon color is gold. So I'm already assuming we're going to want to, actually by looking at these first few tests, I just know we're going to want attr accessors or attr readers for all of these. So I'm just going to do at name equals name, at color equals color, and at rider equals rider. And then reader, name, color, rider. All right. Cool. Passes. So let's take this out. Should still pass. Still passes. Cool. Testing it has a color. Still passes. Cool. All right. So I'm going to talk about something with pry. We talked about pry before. It's a cool thing, but you can use it to debug stuff. So for instance, this gold thing, like what is this getting passed in as? Like strings make sense. An array would make sense, but this colon something is kind of new. So let's, there's two ways we can test this. One, I'm going to re-add these two skips just so we can be testing just here. And I'm going to put a, I'm going to put a pry right here. And then run it. So now I get tossed into this interactive Ruby session, and I want to see what this is. So I can call, so I know I can make a, like dragon.new work, so I can call dragon, and it's here, and I can be like, okay, dragon.color is gold, dragon.name is Ramoth. But here's something useful. So I can, like, this thing, do we know what kind of data type this is? I think it's a string. I can prove that. So I do dragon.name.class, and it comes back as string. So I can say, if I want to say what is this, I can say dragon.color.class, and that comes back as a symbol. So I can say foobar.class is also a symbol. So you can call .class on any kind of object and see what it is. It's quite useful. We'll make use of that a lot. So if you have like a data type you don't understand, or you're something in the code you need to build up and it's not quite clicking, you can do that kind of thing. So I do like 123.class is an integer. I think I can do 123.4.class, and that's a float. I could do empty array.class, and you get array. I can do array.class, maybe .class. Can I do that? Hey, class is a class. What if we do this again? Still a class. Okay. Whatever. So we'll take this out, and we'll carry on. There's one of my other, so we want to take out the next three skips. There's a package I have, I'll link to it in the notes, where when you highlight a word, or you double click it, it highlights all the instances of it. Super useful if you're trying to debug a spelling error, like if I had dragon, and I was like, why is this not working? And all of these get highlighted, dragon doesn't. That tells me I can't type. So if I want to remove all of these skips, I can highlight one, and then I can hit Command D, and it highlights the next one. I can hit Command D, and it highlights the next one. Then I can just delete all three all at once. Cool. All right, we're going to hit exclamation, or we'll type exit to get out of this, and then we'll run the test again. All right. More passes. So this is just testing different dragon. This is all the same thing. Dragon's color. Never, well, yeah, great. All right, this will be interesting. Dragons are born hungry, no method hungry. All right, I really like working on just one test at a time. So I talked about that. You could either do like ZZ, and then when you run the test, you can pass in the -n equals /ZZ thing, and it'll run just that test. The other option is you can use this multi-select thing that I mentioned earlier. So I can just select every single def, and then I'm holding down the command, and I hit the right arrow, and my multiple cursors jump to the end of that line, and then I hit enter, and then I type skip. And I have now just skipped all of these tests, except for this one I took it. So now I can run my whole test suite, and it runs with that error. So those are two ways of handling the same problem. Multi-cursor is also convenient if I wanted to change this dragon.new thing. I could now be like dragon.new. So it's nice to get every instance of a string on your editor and be able to edit it all at the same time. So Command D. If you get too many of them, you can do Command Shift, Command U maybe? Yeah, Command U undoes the selection one at a time. Anyway, all right, so let's make this thing pass. Dragons are born hungry. So we need a def hungry, right? So def hungry question mark end. Actually, let's do this way. Let's say, like, why not just set @hungry question mark equals true, right? Because then we could theoretically call dragon.hungry question mark and we'd get true. Your editor should already be giving you a clue here. when you're, I think the reason is when you have a question mark in a method name, it's expecting it to return a Boolean, and we're trying to set a Boolean to something that's supposed to only be questioning or querying something, like the difference between command and query. So this isn't going to work, and I bet if I try to run it, I'm going to get a error. Yep, so syntax error. So I can't do this. I can do that, but that's not the method we're working on right now. So I'll take that out, and we'll just do def hungry question mark true. So this is going to probably make that test pass, yeah. And we can play around with this a little bit. So let's put a pry in here. Let's put pry in here. And we call dragon. And we'll see it still has these same three attributes, like .color, .name, .rider. And we expect, when they say dragons are born hungry, that makes me suspicious. That makes me think like it should be an attribute that the dragon should have. But I can still call dragon.hungry and get back true if I call it with a question mark. But I think this should be an attribute. So let's make this an attribute. Hungry equals true. And let's just leave this alone for a moment. To comment and uncomment code, if you highlight stuff and then hit command question mark, that toggles it, which is handy. So we're going to exit out of this, rerun it, because I want to hit this pry to show you something else. So we've got this dragon object still. Now we can see he has hungry. So dragon.hungry equals, oh, I didn't do the header reader. So let's fix that. Okay, so we can run that again. Dragon.hungry without the question mark comes back true. So it's almost what we want, but this is not calling dragon.hungry, it's calling dragon.hungry question mark. So we're going to exit out of this, and we're going to run the test, and we're going to hit the pry again. I don't want to hit the pry anymore, so I'm going to take that out. Run the test again. Undefined method hungry question mark. Did you mean hungry? You know what? I'm torn. All right, we should just make the test pass. And this is what makes the test pass. We'll bring all this back in the next test. So we've got this test passing. So we'll just leave these two tests unskipped. We're going to leave the rest skipped for now. So running that, and undefined method eat. So what this test is doing is creating a new dragon, same as before. Assert is a new, oh, I guess we saw it here. It's not assert equals, like assert dragon.hungry. Here, binding. I believe all things need to be demonstratable in a terminal to be understood. So, assert. So we want to dragon.hungry is going to fail. Oh, assert dragon.hungry. Oh, right, we have this. But let's say assert equals. What should we do here? True dragon.hungry. Not with the S. So assert equal. So assert is expecting the thing that it calls to come back with a truthy value. There's lots of things that are truthy, not a lot as much that's falsy. So assert is the same as saying assert equal true and dragon.hungry. So that's all assert is. Take that out. Exit. Okay, so we want to assert dragon.hungry, and then we're going to eat. So it needs a method, so def eat end. We don't know what def eat needs to do yet. We'll just run it. Error expected true to not be truthy, test dragon test, line 56. So this failed here. So that kind of makes sense, right? We've got assert dragon.hungry, so assert dragon is hungry, assert dragon is hungry, assert dragon is hungry, and then after all this eating, we expect dragon.hungry to come back as false. So how do we do that? So we'll basically, in my mind, I'm thinking we'd want a way to count how many meals it's had, and then once this is met a certain number of times, we can toggle it. So let's add one more attribute at meal count equals 0. We're just going to instantiate that as 0. And I'm not going to add the adder reader because I think we'll be changing it as well. I'm not sure. I'm not great with readers versus writers versus accessors, so we'll just leave it at this. And then def eat, when we eat, we'll plus equal, we'll say meal count plus equals 1. And then we're also going to have it puts meal count. So this is puts driven development, so I expect meal count as this to get printed to the screen. And I'm just going to go ahead and add it here. I'll leave that off and run the test. Undefined method plus for nil class. Line 51. Okay, so line 51, dragon.eat. Dragon.eat. Okay. So this line is saying this this method failed for some reason. So what I would usually do, and this is I just stick a pry there. Binding.pry. I'm gonna skip this so I don't hit it accidentally. Then I'm gonna run the test. So now we're inside of def eat, and we got this error saying I can't do plus on a nil class, which makes me think meal count is nil. So let's see why. Meal count, sure enough, is nil. But we have self. What is self? Okay, that's another thing. Since everything is an object, it's always an object that's calling something else or doing a method. So you can use self just to see what the current object is. In this case, it's this dragon named Fenor. So I see this at meal count thing. So I know that self, the dragon, does have a meal count. So I can do self.meal count. No method meal count. At meal count. Okay, so if I do the at sign, it comes back. I would like to be able to just read this attribute. So that is what I should do up here. I'm just going to add meal count here. So when I exit out of that and run it again, I can probably call meal count now. No, I can't. Still nil. Why can't I call meal count? Okay, I was talking with someone else about this recently. I told them that the answer to the problem was they needed to add the at sign before it, and I didn't know why. And that's, like, embarrassing to me. It's not embarrassing. But we're just going to do an at meal count for it there. Well, let's take that out. Let's exit this and see what we get. Undefined method plus for that. All right, so we're going to do at meal count plus equals 1. Puts meal count. I have ideas about why this might be true, but it would be not germane to this lesson. Okay, so this printed out the meal count now, 1, 2, 3. So we're incrementing the meal count successfully. But the test still failed, but this time it failed on a different line, line 57. Refute dragon.hungry. So it expects at some point for this true value to get toggled to false. So let's just throw another attribute in here. We're going to refactor this little method so it can be changed and will be useful. So we're going to do at hungry equals true. And then when someone calls hungry, we're just going to return the value of hungry. So this is now just basically reading the value here. It's not changing it, and that makes sense. Because when you say, is this thing true or false, you expect it to just return the status of the thing, not be like, oh, let me make it false real quick, and then I'll give you false. So, okay, so let's try that again. Undefined local variable or method, hungry. Did you mean hungry question mark or at hungry? Line 51. Dragon.hungry question mark. Oh, I am missing a meal count. So when I called hungry question mark, it's saying I don't know what this is. So let's add hungry. This is hard. This is hard. All right. Back to a different error message. That's also worth mentioning. Pretty much everything you're going to be doing as a software developer is dealing with error messages in different capacities. So don't just learn to love them. So expected true to not be truthy. 57. So this is coming back. Refute. We can stick a pry in there, or we'll just do a pry session here. I don't know. Actually, we probably won't have assert true. No. So pry doesn't have it, but because we're inside of this and it has all the mini test methods, it works. So refute is, we could look it up. You should look it up if you'd like. It's just expecting dragon.hungry to come back as false. So I'm going to put a binding.pry here so I can see the state of the dragon object right before that failure. So dragon has had 3 meals, and if we call dragon.hungry question mark, it still comes back as true. All right, so we're going to do def eat meal count plus equals 1, and then we're going to say if meal at meal count equals 3, at hungry equals false, and we'll end that, and we won't need that. So this is just a one-liner or 3-liner saying if meal count is equal to 3, equals. If you did a single equal sign, this would try to assign 3 as the value of meal count, and it would fail probably because we can't change the value without the at sign. But if you did this, yeah, let's just do that. This is going to break for unexpected reasons. Expected false to be truthy, so we could binding.pry, we'll put a pry in there. So we've got this if statement. When I'm trying to figure out if an if statement is working right or wrong, I'll often try to rebuild the statement itself. So I'll say at meal. Well, first let's just look at self, that object. Okay, meal count is 0, so I can say at meal count equals 3, and that comes back as 3. So self is okay. So if this proves that I'm saying if meal count comes back, if meal count equals 3, hungry equals false, this is going to fail. This is going to set hungry to false after the first meal, because we can set meal count to 3 at any time. So that's why you need the equals sign. And you don't need that. So let's take that out. We'll run it again. Forgot that. Exit. Looks like it may have worked. Okay, it passed. So I like simple things. So let's say at hungry equals false if meal count equals 3. It's relatively simple. One-liners aren't great just for the sake of being a one-liner, but I find that more readable. So it still passes. All right, so let's take out all these skips. So I'm going to just hold down Command-D, just got them all. Backspace a few times, and now we're running all of our tests. Cool, they passed. Trying to think if there's anything else. Let's try this. There's a cool gem. We'll talk about pry and terminal stuff later. All right, hope this was helpful.